Every page spoke about me until it spoke about her. Before we begin, I'd love to know something. Where in the world are you listening from? Tell me in the comments. I love seeing how far these stories travel. And if you enjoy stories like this, make sure to subscribe so you don't miss the next one. And tell me in the comments what you think about this story when it's over. I really love reading your thoughts. Libraries don't usually call your name. They creak. They whisper. They hold dust and secrets and echoes of people who meant to return and never did. But that day, the town library felt different. I wasn't there because I loved reading. I was there because life had grown quiet, too quiet, and quiet things make memories louder. I had taken a leave from work. My relationship had ended without either of us fighting to save it. My apartment felt like a waiting room. I kept walking through days like they weren't mine. So I walked into the library like people walk into churches when they don't know how to pray. Old wood, tall windows, dust floating through sunlight like snow made of time. And then I saw it. A leather book sitting alone on the long oak table, not stacked, not filed, not labeled, waiting. My fingers brushed the cover. No title, just a single word, carved faintly on the front. Elias. My name. I laughed under my breath. Coincidence, I told myself. Still my pulse quickened. I glanced around. No librarian. No sign explaining it. No note saying reserved, like someone had left it for me on purpose. I sat. I opened it. And the first line nearly knocked the air from my lungs. Elias was 5 when he learned what loneliness was, though he wouldn't understand it for years. My hand froze. I read the next sentence, then the next, and the world around me faded, because it wasn't just any story. It was my story. Exact details. The old apartment, my mother humming while washing dishes, my father working late and coming home smelling like tired metal and coffee. Words written like someone had lived inside my memory. Page after page, there I was, growing older, childhood bruises, schoolyard fears. That day I pretended not to cry when my dog didn't wake up. My first heartbreak, written softly, not mockingly, like the book understood. No exaggeration, no judgment, just truth. I flipped ahead. College, my father's heart attack, the funeral. The moment I promised myself I would never need anyone too much. The book remembered everything, and it remembered gently, like it wasn't trying to expose me, like it was trying to hold me. My throat tightened. My eyes burned. I kept reading until I reached a blank page. For a second relief. Maybe it ends here, I thought. Maybe this book only writes the past. But then, ink formed before my eyes, slowly, deliberately, as if someone was writing from the inside out. Words appeared. Elias will stay in the library for another 23 minutes. He will not notice the rain beginning outside. He will turn another page once, then twice, even though he is afraid. And then he will see her name for the first time in years. I slammed the book shut. My heart hammered. I looked around like someone might be laughing, filming, waiting for me to panic. Nobody. Just quiet aisles and forgotten chairs. My hands trembled. I opened the book again, part fear, part hunger. The ink waited. Calm, patient. I turned the page. Another blank sheet. Another slow bloom of words. He hasn't thought of her in a long time. Not honestly. Not fully. Not in the way memory aches like a bruise you press just to feel something. And then a name appeared. A name I had not spoken aloud in decades. Mara. The library vanished again. I was 11 the summer we moved into the house near the orchard. The last place I remember being unafraid of loving people. Mara lived next door. Barefoot. Wild hair. Eyes like she trusted everything good would find her again eventually. We became friends the way children do suddenly, completely, without ceremony. Climbing trees, trading secrets, making fishing poles out of sticks and thread we stole from my mother's sewing drawer. She told me once, if you hide something you love, it gets smaller. I didn't understand then. I do now. The book remembered. The afternoons by the creek. The bicycle crash that left a scar I still carry. The night her father shouted too loudly, and she crawled out her window and tapped on mine, whispering, "Can I stay here?" She slept on the floor, wrapped in an extra blanket. In the morning, my mother pretended not to notice, because sometimes kindness means pretending you didn't see. Then the summer ended. People move. Lives drift. And Mara disappeared from my life without drama. Just distance. New address. New school. Nothing special enough for goodbye. I closed the book halfway and pressed my palm against my eyes. Why? I whispered to nobody. Why now? Why her? The book waited. I turned the page. Words continued. He will think about leaving. He won't. Curiosity weighs more than fear. And love, even the forgotten kind, has gravity. Love. I sat back, dizzy. Had it been love? At 11? Or had the book misunderstood? Another line formed. He doesn't know it yet. But the boy who shared apples with Mara by the orchard never stopped waiting to see her again. My chest ached. I turned the page. I should have stopped. I couldn't. More memories, older now. Teenage years. College. Jobs. Relationships that started beautifully then dulled into politeness. Moments when someone almost became everything to me but always failed to feel like home. The book explained it without cruelty. He keeps looking for the feeling he had with her, the feeling of being seen without having to perform. He keeps choosing almosts because real closeness scares him. Loss once taught him that whoever you love most becomes the thing you can't bear to lose. I wanted to throw the book across the room. I wanted to hold it and never let go. Eventually, I reached the page where the present caught up, and then, blank space. Breath held. Ink moving again. Elias does not leave the library yet. He does something braver. He keeps reading. A chill slid down my spine. The next lines wrote themselves slowly, mercilessly. Tomorrow evening, at 6:14, he will take the long road home, the one past the old theater. At the bus stop under the broken streetlight, he will see her for the first time in 24 years. I shut the book. Not gently, hard. My chair scraped. A librarian looked up, curious, then went back to paperwork. My mouth went dry. Mara. Tomorrow. Bus stop. Broken streetlight. The future felt like a hand closing around my wrist, not violently, but firmly. Part of me thought, coincidence. Another part whispered, destiny. I sat there for a long minute, breath shallow. Finally, I did the only thing I could think to do. I whispered, show me. My fingers opened the book. The words waited. More appeared not far ahead, just a paragraph. Like the book refused to give me more than I needed. He will not know what to say. She will. She always did. She will say his name like a secret remembered by heart. And in that moment, the life he thought he understood will tip and begin again. I felt something unfamiliar. Hope fragile, dangerous, alive. The clock inside the library ticked softly. Pages rustled somewhere far away. Rain began against the window. I leaned back in my chair and laughed under my breath. What are you? I whispered again. The book did not answer. It simply existed, waiting. Like the next part of my life was already written, and all I had to do was walk into it. Sleep did not visit that night. Thoughts did. Question did. Memories did. I lay awake, staring at the faint glow of city light slipping under my blinds, hearing the book in my head. Tomorrow, bus stop. Leeuwenhoek. I tried to convince myself it was madness. A trick my mind was playing. A dream I had convinced myself was real. But morning came and the memory stayed. I found myself back at the library, though I told myself I wouldn't go. The book waited on the table like it had never left. Same spot, same stillness, like it belonged there more than I did. I touched it and felt something like recognition, not magic, just the strange intimacy of knowing this object knew everything about me. I opened it. It had added details. He worries the book will be gone. It isn't. Some things refuse to leave until you understand them. I swallowed. More writing followed, but this time it wasn't about nostalgia. It was instruction. He must not go searching for her early. He must not avoid her either. Destiny is delicate. Meeting her matters, but how he meets her matters more. My chest tightened. I whispered, "Why?" Words formed like breath on glass. Because he needs to see who he has become before he sees who she is now. I closed it again, more gently this time. I spent the day walking. No destination, just streets, parks, coffee shops, faces. Every stranger felt suddenly meaningful, like anyone could be someone I was meant to meet. And beneath everything, a question pulsed. What if the book is right? But just beneath that, a deeper question. What if I don't like what happens next? The future written down does not feel like reassurance. It feels like surrender. At 6, I walked toward the old theater. By 6:09, my heart was not beating normally anymore. The sky dimmed into the kind of evening where the world feels slightly unsure of itself. Streetlights flickered on. Shadows lengthened. The broken one near the bus stop sputtered, stubborn, failing. I sat on the bench, hands in pockets, breath unsteady. Lodensha Erfen. Footsteps. Lodensha Senfen. A bus passed without stopping. Lodensha Sifen. I turned my head, and there she was. Not as memory, not as ghost, as reality. Mara, older, lines near her eyes that life had carved gently, hair tied loosely, a coat too thin for the weather, like she forgot to take care of herself when thinking too much. She stopped when she saw me. Her face changed. Not shock, recognition. Soft, like hearing a song you haven't listened to in years but never forgot the words to. "Elias," she said, and my name sounded different in her mouth. Not spoken, remembered. The book had been right. All at once, the past hit like sunlight. The creek, apple cores, secret window-sill talks. Her laugh when she said something brave and didn't care if it made sense. My throat tightened. Mara, just that. We both laughed awkwardly, like strangers borrowing old familiarity. "What are you doing here?" she asked. I almost said, "I read it in a magic book and came because destiny told me to." Instead I shrugged, thinking, walking, existing badly, mostly. She smiled in that same old way, crooked and kind. Me too. Silence. But it was good silence. The kind that holds possibility instead of fear. We ended up walking not because we planned to, but because talking felt easier when our feet were moving. She told me pieces. A marriage that didn't last. A mother who had passed. Jobs that paid bills but not meaning. Loneliness that wore quiet disguises. And I listened with the strange sensation that the book, for all its knowledge, had not prepared me for the actual human being in front of me. Her voice, her laugh, her strength, her vulnerability, the book had remembered the facts. But it had not captured the warmth. We reached the park, sat beneath the old sycamore that had been there since we were kids. She hugged her knees. "You ever feel like your life keeps circling something?" she asked. "Like there's this center, and everything that matters keeps pulling you back toward it?" I swallowed. "Yeah, lately more than ever." She nodded slowly. Then she said something small, simple, but devastating in the right way. "I used to think we'd find each other again." I froze. The night softened. Somewhere, a dog barked. A bus hissed. Leaves whispered against each other. "And?" I asked. She smiled, bittersweet. And then I decided I had imagined it. Childhood stuff. Nostalgia lying. I breathed out. "Mara," I said quietly, "what if you didn't imagine it?" Her eyes lifted to meet mine. We held that moment suspended, fragile. Not teenagers. Not children. Not fantasy. Two adults acknowledging something that had waited patiently. For years, she didn't say anything. She didn't need to. And for the first time since opening that book, I understood something else. The future written on the page wasn't the miracle. Being alive enough to feel it when it arrived, that was. We walked back slowly. At the bus stop, she hesitated. "I'd like to see you again," she said. I nodded. "Me too." We exchanged numbers like people do, mundane, normal, undramatic. But it didn't feel normal. It felt like closing a circle 24 years wide. The bus came. She stepped on, turned, smiled, left. I didn't go home. I went back to the library. The book waited. I opened it. New words glowed softly in the dim light. He did not go because the book told him to. He went because part of him had been walking toward that moment since childhood. Tomorrow, he will realize the book never controlled his life. It only reflected the choices he was finally brave enough to make. I laughed. I cried. Both at once. Then one last line wrote itself. And for the first time, Elias will close the book not because the story is finished, but because he finally wants to write the rest himself. I closed it, not afraid, not desperate, grateful. I placed my hand on the cover and whispered, "Thank you." And when I walked out of the library, I walked differently. Not because every answer waited ahead, but because, maybe for the first time, I finally wanted to meet whatever came next.